Hello there, it's Colin Baker, and welcome to my podcast, where I invite you into the TARDIS. I feel truly lucky to have played and still be playing the Doctor, not only on television, but on stage, and of course, on audio. And what adventures I've had. Not just my incarnation, because there are so many other adventures to delve into that we've had to do this podcast to showcase the wonderful catalogue that Big Finish have given us, and all officially licensed by the BBC. Gets better though, because the cast you saw on TV is the cast you'll hear once you start listening, with a host of friends both old and new, not to mention situations and monsters. This week is time for part 2 of The Scream of Ghosts. And if you missed part 1, in the best traditions of time travel, you could pop back and listen to that now. But if you're here and eager to get started, then let me bring you up to speed. Interference, white noise, and strange voices are all intertwined in an event that brings together an attacking force heading for Earth, and the sudden eruption of strange voices in the village of Belbury, and the Doctor's speakers in the TARDIS audio system. Belbury is not only the destination of the Brigadier and Joe, who are tasked with the appraisal of a project that is in receipt of United Nations money, but also Sergeant Benton's fellow CB enthusiast, who has told Benton of strange stories of ghosts in the woods around the village. Enough for the Doctor to become interested and follow the Brigadier and Joe down to this little corner of the English countryside. Once there, the Doctor learns that much more is happening that is affecting televisions, radios, and pretty much anything that can receive sounds. Meeting Benton's friend, Concrete, a trip into the woods to search for the mysterious voices is in order. Meanwhile, Joe and the Brigadier meet up with Professor Caldecott, who is not too impressed at having to give them a demonstration of her work with developing a mobile phone. Armed with a handset, they set out to test it. In the woods, the Doctor, Concrete, and Sergeant Benton get to experience the ghostly voices for themselves. But as the cacophony gets louder, it increases to the point where it becomes lethal. Now you're ready to jump in. I'll be back at the end of the episode with some behind-the-scenes content. Meantime, here's part 2 of The Scream of Ghosts. A case of interference on the line for the Doctor. With the Doctor gone, what will Joe do next? Answers for next time, I think. And now let's go behind the scenes and look at the expansion of the unit family as we hear from Nicholas Briggs and John Culshaw.
The decision to involve the Brigadier came first of all because we spoke to the Haseman Literary Estate, who own the rights for the Brigadier, and we sorted out about bringing the Brigadier back properly. And then, of course, when it came round to it finally, we thought, oh, who's going to do it? And we had all sorts of ideas. And I think that of all the parts at Big Finish, this is the one that most people have auditioned for. We didn't sit in a room and make people walk in and audition in front of us, but we got a lot of voice actors to send us audition reels, and we sent them, little MP3s, and we sent them bits of script to read. I think we'd resigned ourselves to the fact that we would just get someone who was very good, but wouldn't sound like Nicholas Courtney, but would sound, people would think, oh yes, that could be a Brigadier. And that's really what I thought we'd do. But when I started hearing them, I started thinking, that doesn't sound like the Brigadier, though. So I thought, this isn't going to work, isn't it? And even though they were all of them brilliant, and we have apologised to all of them, I suddenly thought, I think it was David Richardson said, why don't you listen to the Five Doctors audiobook? Because John Culshaw is doing a brilliant Nick Courtney voice, and he's doing 15 other voices with it. So if he can do it that well while he's concentrating on all those other voices too, he's going to be absolutely brilliant, isn't he, if he just does the Brigadier? And I listened to it and I just thought, well, yeah. And then I remembered that when we'd had a meeting with John Coleshaw, just after we first worked with him, we talked to him about doing some comedy podcasts and stuff, and we wanted to do all that. And John said, the thing I really want to do is play the Brigadier. Can't you do? And at that time, we didn't have the rights, so we were sort of going, oh, we can't do that. And I suddenly said to David, look, that conversation, he really wants to do it. So I got in touch with him and said, listen, you know that conversation we had all those years ago? Oh, yeah. So he was completely up for it. And it's been magical listening to him.
When the email came through asking if I would like to play Brigadier Alistair Gordon Lethbridge-Stewart, well, I think I took a quarter of a nanosecond to decide. It's an instant yes. It's just one of those instant yeses in your life. It's my era. You always remember the first that you see and sort of step into it. And to say such well-known phrases of the Brigadier, come along, Miss Grant, Sergeant Benton. You realise what a brilliant portrayal Nick Courtney gave for the Brigadier. So military, so precise, that sense of authority, but also with great warmth and great knowledge and a natural leader. It's joyous to play him, it really is.
I never actually worked with Nick Courtney as the Doctor and the Brigadier until, and whether this is canon or not, I'll leave for others to decide, until we did the EastEnders special for Children in Need. And I think that John Nathan Turner was well aware that I had never met the Brig, and I knew him, of course, because we used to meet up quite a lot at equity meetings and at conventions by that time. But we'd never been the Brigadier and been the Sixth Doctor together. So we had a little moment running towards a helicopter, which meant for some that old Sixie had met the Brig, which I was delighted about because he was one of the pillars of Doctor Who, I suppose, and he was the only Brig. There's been hundreds of Doctors now, thousands of companions and masters and Daleks and Cybermen, but how many Brigs have there been? There have been people occupying his position in unit, but they haven't been the Brigadier. So that makes him special, which he was, because he was a good chap, like we were in his eyes. Good chaps, all of them. Lovely bloke. Miss him. And now, just where has the Doctor gone? In fact, where has everyone in Belbury seemingly gone? Becoming obsessed with television is one thing, but this seems to be on a whole different level. Fandom gone mad. It looks like it's up to Joe Grant to really become Unit's hope for getting to the bottom of this mystery. It's about to get dialed up to 11 in our next exciting instalment of Into the TARDIS. For the continuing audio adventures of Old Sixie, along with other classic and new series Who, podcasts, and much more, be sure to visit www.bigfinish.com. You've been listening to Into the TARDIS, hosted by me, Colin Baker, and produced by Ian Meadows. Supervising producer was Lizzie Worsdale, and executive producers are Nicholas Briggs and Jason Haig-Ellery.